Ever feel like you're just juggling everything, battles on all fronts, trying to manage family stuff, keep outside pressures under control, and, well, still get your own things done?
Oh, yeah. It's a classic struggle, isn't it? That feeling of being pulled in a million directions.
Exactly. And today, we're doing a deep dive into the final years of someone who was, frankly, a master of that very act, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj.
Precisely. We're focusing on roughly 1678 to 1680, looking at his last campaigns. We're drawing on biographical accounts here, trying to get behind just the sequence of events.
Right, so the mission today is to really unpack the challenges he faced. Military stuff, tricky diplomacy, even personal family issues, all happening at once.
And see what that tells us about his leadership in those final, really intense years.
Okay, let's get into it. So one constant pressure cooker was the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. And reading this, it sounds like Aurangzeb wasn't exactly throwing a party for Shivaji's successes down south in the Carnatic region.
Not even close. What's really interesting is how Aurangzeb's own strategy kind of, blew up in his face a bit. How so?
He sort of hoped Shivaji's campaigns way down south in the Carnatic would weaken him, maybe distract him, tie up his resources. There was this understanding between them, almost a non-aggression pact for the Deccan, while Shivaji was busy elsewhere.
Okay, so let him wear himself out far away.
That seems to have been the thinking. But Shivaji comes back stronger, with more territory, more resources, and worse for Aurangzeb, Shivaji starts getting involved with Bijapur, another kingdom Aurangzeb had his eye on.
So the plan to weaken Shivaji actually creates a stronger rival, messing with Aurangzeb's other plans. Classic unintended consequences.
Exactly. And it wasn't like Aurangzeb could just immediately pivot and crush Shivaji, right? His attention was seriously divided. He had major trouble brewing on the Afghan frontier, way up north.
That's a good point. A huge empire means fires everywhere.
Precisely. Plus, his general, Dilar Khan, had just failed pretty badly in a campaign against Golconda. That's another powerful sultanate nearby. So the Mughal military strength in the Deccan wasn't exactly at its peak. So Aurangzeb's hoping for a worn-out Shivaji, and instead gets a more powerful one, while his own forces in the area are looking a bit shaky. Not ideal.
Not ideal at all. So Aurangzeb starts thinking maybe he needs to undermine Golconda somehow as a kind of countermove against Shivaji's influence.
Trying to regain control indirectly.
Kind of, but that doesn't really pan out either. So he recalls one commander, Bahadur Khan, and sends Prince Wazim back down to the Deccan. It was Wazim's second tour there.
Feels like he's shuffling pieces on the board, doesn't it? Trying different generals, hoping something works against Shivaji.
It really does. It shows, I think, a growing frustration for Aurangzeb. Maybe even a lack of a single clear strategy. It feels more reactive, trying to respond to Shivaji's moves rather than setting the agenda.
And setting the prince back, that signals it's serious, right? A renewed push for Mughal authority down south.
Definitely. But still, it's complicated, because while dealing with Aurangzeb, Shivaji also has this whole other chess game going on with Bijapur and the Mughals in Bijapur.
Right, the text mentions Marapat Pingal, one of Shivaji's top commanders, being really watchful. Why? Because Dilar Khan, the Mughal general, was cozying up to Masood Khan, who was running things in Bijapur.
Absolutely. Marapat knew that alliances could shift like sand. The Mughals might say they're making peace with Bijapur, but at the same time, they're making demands.
Like what?
Demanding old unpaid money, trying to lure Bijapuri nobles over to their side, pushing Bijapur to basically accept Mughal dominance. It was a pressure campaign.
And Dilar Khan had some success with that, pulling over Afghan nobles within Bijapur.
He did, but there was still a strong anti-Mughal faction in Bijapur, and then things got really messy with this proposal for the Pachaha Bibi, she's a Bijapur princess, to marry into the Mughal royal family.
Okay, that sounds like it would cause fireworks. A royal marriage is a political tool.
Huge fireworks. It split the Bijapur court. Some saw it as selling out their independence. It got so tense that the princess herself basically had to step in and volunteer to go just to stop the infighting.
Wow, but even that didn't calm things down with Dilar Khan.
Nope. He seems to have just renewed his pressure, maybe even aggression, against Masood Khan. And this pushes Masood Khan into a corner.
So what does he do?
He did something pretty extraordinary. He reaches out to Shivaji for help.
Shivaji? But weren't they enemies for decades?
They were. But Masood Khan was desperate. He appeals to Shivaji, even mentioning Shivaji's father's connection to Bijapur from years ago. He basically says, look, we're both facing this Mughal threat led by Diler Khan. Help us.
That's a massive shift. Necessity makes strange bedfellows, I guess.
It really speaks volumes about how dangerous Diler Khan was perceived to be.
Okay, so Shivaji gears up to help Bijapur, this old rival, and then, bam, huge personal crisis.
Yeah, just as he's about to march, news arrives. His own son, his heir, Sambhaji, has run away.
Right away where?
To the enemy. He's taken refuge with Diler Khan.
Oh, wow. That must have been absolutely devastating. Personally, politically, everything.
A massive blow. Shivaji has to stop everything. His son, the future king, is now with the Mughals. It's a nightmare scenario. Risks splitting the whole Maratha kingdom.
And the sources? They don't exactly paint Sambhaji in the best light, do they? Educated, yes, but described as wanton, froward, violent-tempered.
Yeah, the picture is one of a young man who, despite his education, lacked his father's discipline and maybe moral compass. There's this incident mentioned during the Gauri festival.
What happened?
He reportedly disrespected or assaulted a Brahmin woman. And for Shivaji, who held justice and respect, especially religious respect, so highly, this was apparently a heinous sin, a major breach.
So this wasn't just youthful rebellion, it was crossing a serious line for Shivaji.
It seems so. It likely showed Shivaji that Sambhaji just wasn't ready, wasn't fit for the responsibility that awaited him. A deep disappointment, probably.
And Shivaji's reaction, he didn't just let it slide.
No, he reacted strongly. He had Sambhaji put under confinement, basically imprisoned in Panhala Fort.
Trying to contain him, maybe force him to reflect.
Perhaps, but it didn't work. Sambhaji plans an escape, and it's calculated. He contacts Diler Khan beforehand, tells him he's coming, then slips away in November 1678.
So it's a very deliberate act, joining the enemy.
It looks that way, a clear act of rebellion. Maybe he resented his father's strictness, maybe he wanted power sooner. Whatever the reason, he chose the Mughal side.
And Diler Khan must have been thrilled. What a coup. Shivaji's own son defecting.
Oh, absolutely. Diler Khan welcomes him, tells Aurangzeb immediately. He probably thought this would shatter Maratha morale, maybe cause other defections, a huge potential advantage.
But Aurangzeb, he wasn't so sure.
No, Aurangzeb was always suspicious, wasn't he? Especially of anything involving Shivaji. He worried it was a trick.
Like Sambhaji was a plant, a spy, or maybe a way to lure the Mughals into a trap.
Exactly. That level of mutual distrust ran deep. Aurangzeb wasn't ready to fully trust Sambhaji or believe this defection was genuine. He actually disapproved of using Sambhaji against his own father.
Interesting. But Diler Khan, being on the ground, saw the immediate opportunity.
Right. Diler Khan didn't wait for Aurangzeb's doubts to resolve. He acted. He uses Sambhaji almost immediately, sends him with Mughal troops to attack a Maratha fort, Bhupalgarh. This is around April 1679.
Okay, put yourself in the shoes of the Maratha soldiers inside Bhupalgarh. They look over the walls, and who's leading the attack? Their own prince.
It's an impossible situation, isn't it? Creates total confusion, a massive psychological blow. The commander, Venkoji Narsala, a veteran known for loyalty, what does he do?
And Sambhaji apparently makes direct threats against officers inside.
Yes, he threatens the Havaldar, one of the officers. It just completely undermined the defense. Venkoji couldn't rally his men under those circumstances.
And the fort falls.
It does. And what follows is pretty grim. The Mughals punish the captured garrison very harshly. Brutally, in fact.
Even though Sambhaji protested.
The sources say Sambhaji argued against the cruelty, but it happened anyway, which might tell you something about his actual influence in the Mughal camp at that point.
And Shivaji, his reaction to his son leading an attack and the fall of the fort.
Immediate and clear. He officially declares Sambhaji a traitor, draws a very public line, no ambiguity.
Still, he's his son. Did Shivaji try to get him back?
He did. Despite the declaration, Shivaji sent messages. Tried to persuade Sambhaji to return, pointed out the danger he was in, his duties as heir, the damage he was doing.
But Sambhaji refused.
Yeah. He wouldn't come back. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, so Shivaji is dealing with this immense personal betrayal, his heir fighting against him. But he still decides to help Bijapur. He doesn't just say, forget it, I've got my own problem.
No, he sticks to his commitment. He sends his cavalry towards Bijapur to aid Masood Khan, which is remarkable given the circumstances.
But even that help wasn't simple, was it? There were disagreements.
Right. Masood Khan, even needing the help desperately, was still wary. They argued about where the Maratha troops should camp. He didn't want them too close to the city initially.
Herd habits die hard. lingering suspicion.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Masood Khan refused to let the main Maratha force inside the fort walls. Only the commanders were allowed in for talks. Trust was still a very scarce commodity.
So the Marathas got creative. How did they get in?
Classic Maratha ingenuity. They started sending small groups of soldiers into the city disguised as, like, traders bringing in supplies. Bit by bit, they built up a presence inside.
Trojan horse, provision style.
Sort of. And once they had enough men inside, they made a show of force, attacked some suburbs, arrested merchants, basically flexed their muscles a bit. There's even talk of bribing the Bijapuri garrison commander.
It's like a complex dance of alliance and leverage, but then the main event arrives. Dalar Khan and the Mughal army show up outside Bijapur.
Yeah, that kind of puts an end to the internal maneuvering. Now the real siege begins. And Masood Khan's pleas to Shivaji become even more frantic. Help us, the Mughals are here!
So Shivaji approaches the Mughal camp. What's his plan? Attack Dalar Khan directly.
He scouts them out first, gets close, assesses their strength. He notes Dalar Khan has a lot of tough, experienced Pathan soldiers. Shivaji, ever the pragmatist, realizes a direct assault on the main Mughal camp is probably too risky right then.
So if not a direct attack, then what?
A diversion. A brilliant, classic Shivaji move. Instead of hitting the besieging army, he launches a lightning raid deep into Mughal territory itself.
Where does he go?
He sweeps across a huge swath of land from the Bhima River all the way up to the Godavari, and the centerpiece is the sack of Jalna.
Jalna, in Khandesh. That's pretty deep in Mughal land.
Very deep. And he plunders it for 3 whole days. This is practically under the nose of Prince Wazim, who's the Mughal governor in the region. It's incredibly bold.
What's the strategic goal here? Just loot?
Loot was part of it, sure, funding the war effort, but strategically it was about relieving pressure on Bijapur, create a massive problem for the Mughals elsewhere, force them to divert troops and attention away from the siege, damage their prestige, disrupt their heartland. It's textbook asymmetric warfare.
Use speed and surprise to hit them where they feel safe.
Exactly. Now, there is a point mentioned in the sources about this Jalna raid, a bit of caution.
Look at that.
There's a suggestion, though it's not definitively proven, that maybe Shivaji's usual strict policy about not harming mosques or holy men might have been, let's say, less strictly enforced during the chaos of the Jalna plunder.
A possible exception to the rule under extreme pressure.
It's something the historians note as a possibility, a point of discussion, based on some accounts. But again, not confirmed widespread violation or anything, just a complexity of the situation.
Okay. So Shivaji pulls off this huge raid. Do the Mughals just let him get away?
No, they react. A Mughal commander, Ranmas Khan, is sent in hot pursuit. He catches up with Shivaji's forces near Sangamner.
And there's a battle.
A fierce one. There was apparently a moment of confusion, maybe some rash action by one of Shivaji's commanders, Santaji Ghorpaid. They actually lost a good officer, Sidhoji Nimbalkar. Things looked dicey for a moment.
But Shivaji pulls it together.
He does. He's right there in the thick of it, rallying his men, leading a counterattack personally. They fight back hard and actually force Ranmas Khan's contingent to retreat. Incredible leadership under fire.
Wow. But the Mughals get reinforcements.
Yes. Ranmas Khan is joined by another commander, Kishan Singh. They catch up to the Marathas again, who are exhausted by now from the long raid and the fighting. They corner them near a narrow pass, a defile.
Sounds like a trap. Shivaji's troops are tired, outnumbered.
It looked bad. But this is where another key figure steps up, Bahirji Naik.
Shivaji's chief of intelligence, right? The master scout.
The very same. Bahirji finds a way out, a hidden path, a secret gorge that the Mughals don't know about. He guides Shivaji and the army through it, completely giving the Mughals the slip.
Amazing, like something out of a movie. The hidden escape route.
Totally. The Mughals are left confused, searching, unable to figure out where the Marathas vanished.
Yeah, and Shivaji reaches safety.
He reaches the fort of Pata, and he's so relieved, so grateful for the refuge, that he renames the fort.
To what?
Vishramgad. It means fort of rest, or asylum fort, a testament to how close a call it was.
And the Mughal pursuers.
Utterly demoralized, they give up the chase and head back to Aurangabad. And you can bet Bahirji Naik got recognized and rewarded for that crucial save.
Definitely earned it. So Shivaji's safe at Vishramgad, resting up. But knowing him, probably not for long.
Not at all. Even while recovering, he's planning his next move. He tasks Morapant Pingal, his Peshwa, with going out and capturing the smaller forts in the surrounding area while the Mughals are still reeling. No time wasted.
Always consolidating, always pushing forward. Meanwhile, what's happening back at Bijapur? Is Daler Khan still besieging it?
Well, Shivaji's raid did its job. It disrupted the Mughals badly. Plus, other Maratha forces under commanders like Hamburao, Mohite, and Morappan himself had been constantly harassing the besiegers before Shivaji's raid.
Guerrilla tactics. Hitting supplies.
Exactly. Making life miserable for Daler Khan's army. Cutting off foraging parties, disrupting supply lines. They made it very hard for the Mughals to sustain the siege effectively.
So the pressure worked?
It did. Around November 1679, Daler Khan finally gives up the siege of Bijapur and starts withdrawing towards Aurangabad.
A victory for the Maratha-Bijapur temporary alliance.
A major one. But Daler Khan didn't leave quietly. He was furious, defeated, and he took it out brutally on the innocent people in the Adil Shahi territories he passed through on his retreat.
How so?
It was horrific. Mass enslavement of civilians, reports of people committing suicide to avoid capture, sacking towns. There was a particularly awful massacre of Hindus at a place called Athni. Just unrestrained vengeance.
That's terrible. And Sambhaji was still with Daler Khan during this retreat.
Yes, he was. And the sources say he actually protested against this cruelty, tried to argue against it apparently, but couldn't stop Daler Khan.
Witnessing that level of brutality?
Yeah.
Maybe that started to change his perspective, seeing what the Mughal side was really like.
It seems very likely. It must have been a stark contrast to his father's principles. Perhaps seeing that firsthand contributed to his growing disillusionment and maybe a sense of his own mistake.
And even as Daler Khan retreated in disgrace, the Marathas kept nipping at his heels.
Oh yeah, they harassed the retreating Mughals all the way. Didn't let them go peacefully.
But Daler Khan wasn't quite done yet. He tries another move.
Yeah, seemingly desperate or maybe just spiteful, he splits his remaining forces and launches an invasion into Shivaji's Carnatic territories, the very land Shivaji had recently conquered down south.
Trying to hit Shivaji where it hurts, maybe draw him away?
Possibly, but Shivaji had capable governors down there. Janardhan Pant was in charge, and he handled it brilliantly. He met both of Daler Khan's divided forces and defeated them separately.
Wow. So Daler Khan's southern gamble failed completely too. A testament to Shivaji's administration being strong even far away.
Absolutely. It showed the depth of Shivaji's organization and the loyalty he commanded. Janardhan Pant's victories were a major boost.
Okay, so Daler Khan's failures are piling up. Failure against Golconda, failure at Bijapur, brutality on the retreat, failure in the Carnatic. How did Emperor Aurangzeb react to all this?
He was furious. All these failures, plus Daler Khan's brutal conduct, which probably wasn't great PR, and Aurangzeb's lingering suspicion about Sambhaji. The emperor had had enough.
What did he order?
He orders Daler Khan to send Sambhaji to the imperial court at Agra, under arrest.
Arrest. So Aurangzeb definitely didn't trust him, saw him as a potential problem, maybe still a pawn of Shivaji's.
It seems so. The suspicion never went away. Ordering his arrest was a clear sign that Sambhaji's time as a supposed Mughal ally was over. Daler Khan was basically being told to hand him over.
And Daler Khan, presumably not wanting to disobey a direct order, but maybe also feeling some responsibility or just wanting to avoid more trouble, he tells Sambhaji.
Yes, Daler Khan informs Sambhaji what the emperor has ordered, that he's to be arrested and sent north.
And Sambhaji's reaction? He doesn't just wait to be arrested, does he?
No way. Knowing what likely awaited him in Agra under Aurangzeb's care, Sambhaji takes the first opportunity. He slips away quietly from the Mughal camp.
And where does he go this time?
He heads back towards his father. He eventually reunites with Shivaji somewhere near Panhala Fort, the same fort he'd been confined in before.
The prodigal son returns. Must have been a tense reunion.
Extremely tense. The sources describe Shivaji giving on Sambhaji a very powerful reprimand. Not just welcome back, but a serious dressing down.
What did he say?
He laid it out clearly, the immense danger Sambhaji had put himself and the kingdom in, the betrayal, the responsibilities he had shirked as the heir, the terrible example he'd set. A real moment of reckoning.
Did Shivaji just take him back into the fold then? Or were there conditions?
Oh, there were conditions. Shivaji didn't just forgive and forget. He even made this quite remarkable offer, according to the accounts.
That was the offer.
He basically said, if it's power you want so badly right now, fine, I'll retire. We'll divide the kingdom. You get half. Your younger brother, Rajaram, gets the other half.
Whoa, seriously? Divide the kingdom? That's unexpected. Was he serious?
It's hard to know his exact motive. Maybe testing Sambhaji, maybe genuinely exploring an option to avoid future conflict. But it shows Shivaji was thinking pragmatically, even unconventionally, about how to handle this incredibly difficult situation.
What happened with that offer? Did Sambhaji take it?
No. In the end, Sambhaji was placed back under confinement in Panhala Fort. But it wasn't just prison this time.
How is it different?
He was given resources, a proper allowance for his maintenance. A trusted steward, Vithal Trimbak Deshpande, was appointed specifically to look after him, maybe guide him, try to rehabilitate him.
So contained, but with an attempt at reform.
Exactly. And other loyal officers were put in charge of his security, overseeing his administration, with very strict orders that he was not to leave the fort again, trying to manage the risk while maybe hoping for change.
Okay, so while Shivaji is dealing with Sambhaji's return, what's the status with Bijapur? They must be hugely relieved Deelar Khan is gone.
Immensely relieved and deeply grateful to Shivaji. The Adil Shahi court sends another formal letter full of praise.
What did it say?
It acknowledged Shivaji's absolutely crucial help, his loyalty in their hour of need. They even used that phrase again, calling him a worthy son of Shahaji, connecting him to his father's service to Bijapur long ago. It cemented this new relationship.
So, compliments, gifts exchanged. Did this lead to anything more concrete, like a formal alliance?
It did. They negotiated and ratified a brand new treaty between the Maratha kingdom and the Adil Shahi state.
And the terms. What did Shivaji get out of it?
Pretty significant gains. Bijapur formally ceded the districts of Kopal and Belvadi to Shivaji. They also renounced any claim over Shivaji's conquests in the Dravida country, the south.
Including Tanjore, where his half-brother was, and his father's old lands.
Yes, Bijapur gave up sovereign rights over Tanjore and Shahaji's old Jagiir lands, acknowledging Shivaji's authority there, and, crucially, they agreed to help each other if either was attacked. Mutual defense.
That's a major diplomatic victory for Shivaji. Formal recognition of his expanded power and a strategic ally against the Mughals.
A huge win, and the sources mentioned Shivaji having secret talks with Masood Khan afterwards, probably planning their next steps against Aurangzeb.
This strengthening of Shivaji's position, especially in the south, didn't sit well with everyone, did it? Specifically, his half-brother, Venkoji, down in Tanjore.
No, Venkoji wasn't happy at all. He saw this treaty, this transfer of sovereignty, as Shivaji basically taking over. He felt his own independence, his autonomy in Tanjore was shrinking.
He resented Shivaji's growing influence.
Deeply. He particularly disliked Raghunath Pant, who was Shivaji's trusted administrator and advisor, effectively overseeing things in the south now. Venkoji felt sidelined, overshadowed.
And he kind of checked out? Became withdrawn.
Yes, the accounts describe him becoming melancholic, neglecting his duties, withdrawing from court life, just deeply unhappy and resentful.
And Raghunath Pant reports this back to Shivaji.
He does. He lets Shivaji know about Venkoji's state of mind, his despondency.
Which prompts Shivaji to write to him.
Yes. And this letter, written probably in early 1680, is believed to be one of Shivaji's very last significant communications. It's quite remarkable.
What does he say to Venkoji?
It's a long, detailed, really insightful letter. He doesn't just tell him off, he urges Venkoji to snap out of his despair, to focus on his duties as a ruler. He tells him to learn from their father Shahaji's example, his energy, his achievements.
So trying to inspire him, remind him of his legacy.
Exactly. And he advises him to trust and consult Raghunath Pant, emphasizing the value of wise counsel. It's firm, but also encouraging and full of wisdom about leadership and responsibility.
A final piece of brotherly and kingly advice.
A very poignant one, especially given what happened next.
Right, because the sources say this letter was likely his last, shortly after sending it.
He fell ill, and this time, he didn't recover. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj passed away in April 1680.
So looking back at these last couple of years, 1678 to 1680, just relentless pressure. Mughal aggression, Bijapur diplomacy, shifting constantly, his own son's rebellion and return. It's incredible.
It really is. What stands out most, I think, is just his sheer resilience. Facing Aurangzeb, managing these incredibly complex alliances, dealing with a profound family crisis. Sambhaji's defection was huge, and yet he kept going. Strategically brilliant, both in war and diplomacy, right to the very end.
Yeah, the strategic thinking is amazing. The raid on Jalna, the way he handled the Bijapur situation, even the offer to divide the kingdom with Sambhaji, it shows such adaptability.
And those aha moments you mentioned earlier, Aurangzeb constantly underestimating him, the whole Sambhaji drama playing out, the enemy becoming an ally in Bijapur, and that final wise letter to Venkoji, it really paints a picture of leadership under extreme, multifaceted pressure.
It really does. So maybe a final thought for you listening to this deep dive. How does knowing about these intense final campaigns, these personal challenges, shape how you see Shivaji's legacy? not just as a warrior king, but as a leader navigating, well, everything at once.
What can we learn from that incredible balancing act he performed in his last years? Managing the military, the diplomatic, the personal. It's definitely something to think about, isn't it? A complex end to a truly remarkable life, in a period that tells us so much as we keep exploring Maratha history.
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.